You know, one thing I realized about making this video is that Ellie and also a lot of the women of Disventure Camp are typically shown in a more negative light than they actually are. Again, I'm not justifying Ria's actions, especially she will get her own video, but in the case of Ellie, which we will be talking about, Ellie didn't really do that much wrong, and in this video we will be just talking about Ellie overall as a character. And I won't be alone in this because I invited the one and only Alex. Okay, no, she's not in this video. I'm sorry. Anyways, I do feel like Ellie is probably one of my all-time favorite characters. However, this video will not be biased just because of that. Again, even though Ellie is probably around my A tier, I still do have somewhat of issues with her character just in All-Stars, but we will be talking about Season 1 first. And I feel like in Season 1, she was honestly just a pretty solid character throughout the season. Again, in my rankings, I did always, I believe, put her around the A or S tier, or like, not S tier, I guess like Royalty 87, but like, I do feel like Ellie's just a character that was very down to earth, pretty relatable, and I do like her motives to actually win the game because she is broke outside of this. She has like 2 jobs that barely keep her afloat, and I do understand the need for her to win the game, and that's why I understand her move at the final 10 to just manipulate Jake, because I feel like most people in Disventure Camp would have done that anyways, regardless if they had Ellie's background or not. Like, look at Rhea, she would probably do that. I think James would do that. I think Miriam probably would do that for the sake of winning. Like, I do think most people in Ellie's situation would have done that to benefit their own game. Again, Ellie was on the bottom of the 4-person alliance between her, Jake, Miriam, and Tom, so it obviously does make sense for Ellie to try to get out one of them. Again, I'm not saying that it isn't messed up to use somebody's trauma as a way to manipulate them into voting out Tom, but it is, I feel like there's more ways to justify it than a lot of other people's moves in the game of Disventure Camp, so it's like, it's bad, but like not as bad as people like Aria. And I feel like people also understate how genuine Ellie actually is as a person. Again, Ellie had a great relationship with Alec before Alec burned that bridge twice by A, voting her out, and then B, voting out her girlfriend Gabby. And again, I also love Ellie's relationship with Gabby. It's one of my favorite ships of Disventure Camp, probably because most Disventure Camp ships are kind of, it's hit or miss. I mean, most of them aren't really misses, they're just kind of eh. But yeah, Ellie's relationship with Jake before it got really sour in All Stars. Again, I feel like they could have reconciled, but again, the writers kind of wanted to make Jake this more redeemable, heroic character, and that does kind of degrade Ellie's character, in my opinion, a bit. To where, coming into All Stars, obviously Tom, Miriam, and Jake are still very much upset with Ellie, just due to the fact that she kind of dragged every single person in Season 1 in her post-game interviews, which is obviously terrible. But it's like, also, she did it for money, but also it's like, come on. The writers could have at least made Ellie apologize and come off a bit more sincere. If they wanted to make Ellie this more kind of redeemable villain, kind of like they did with Alec, but once again, Disventure Camp kind of loves to make women more villainous, so it's like, I don't know, man. All Stars definitely tries to show more of Ellie's, like, cruel side, or I guess a more greedy side, villainous side, which is kind of fine, but I feel like the way they go about it is just very wrong in my opinion. I won't knock her too much for the lake elimination, because I feel like that's something Ellie needed to do to secure positioning in the game, I guess, but I will kind of knock her for how her relationship with Gabby is definitely handled, where they don't communicate nearly enough despite being a couple for about a year. It's kind of like the Mike and Zoe effect, where it's like, I feel like we're missing a lot more scenes from them, or at least scenes of them just being a couple and like confirming the fact that they do kind of spend like every single day together when they weren't competing after Season 1, but they don't, and it's kind of weird. Like, obviously I understand the fact that Ellie's in game mode and trying to look for totems and stuff, but I feel like more conversations would have been more needed. I also feel like Ellie just was doing things just for the sake of causing chaos, which is something that Season 1 Ellie just would have never done. I feel like obviously pushing Tom into Aiden is a very clear scene, obviously, just to distract Jake so they can win the challenge. Like, I feel like Season 1 Ellie would have just never done that, and I feel like it's definitely out of character for her. I also feel like the episode where she pretty much made Tom and Aiden kiss each other in front of Jake just to mess with his head. Again, I feel like Ellie just kind of torments Jake for a lot of the season, but I feel like that's just not who Ellie is as a person, despite obviously the $3 million at stake. I just feel like those two scenes and just the way Ellie talks to people like Tom and Aiden definitely makes Tess obviously want to flip on Ellie just because the game is like hurting her, which I was kind of glad she did because I just didn't want to see Ellie get ruined even more. Because I have a lot of things to say about All-Stars ruining a lot of characters, but we'll get to the All-Stars review anyways. Because I feel like if Ellie stayed for the merge, I feel like, one, she would just work with the villains, which kind of would have been... I mean, it's interesting to see her relationship with Alec pan out, but it's like, A, she probably would have ruined her relationship with Gabby even more. B, she probably would have just been an antagonist for Jake. And here's the thing, I don't have an issue with other characters making Jake look better. The issue is when it kind of affects the actual character being involved in it and having them do like out of character stuff just for the sake of making Jake look like the golden boy or having this redemption arc, which obviously it worked for me. Like, Jake is one of my all-time favorite characters now, but it's like, I feel like that came at Ellie's expense as a character. And if I ever make a video about Ellie, which isn't likely, I feel like Ellie also definitely does get ruined for the sake of just bettering Jake as an overall character. I'm still obviously a big fan of villains and characters who play the game strategically, which is what Ellie did. But like Alec and Ulsters, I feel like I really wish we would have saw a more like heroic side, or not really heroic side, like a more human side of Ellie's character. Because I feel like Gabby and Ellie should have gotten so much more screen time during All Stars, but that's whatever. Again, I mean, this video is probably going to be posted on the finale, I do believe, so I guess we'll see how well this video ages, and if Ellie becomes even worse, because I know she does play a factor into the finale, then maybe I'll make a part 2. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, peace out.